Hello and welcome back to the channel to another of my interview series. Now, as you know, recently we've been looking at food and health a lot because in this day and age it is more important than most people realise. Food, of course, is the medicine of your health, and if you don't eat healthily then you're not going to be well. And one of those ways is to eat, of course, organic and healthy local produced food. However, it's not as easy to get that, certainly in the supermarkets. But all over the country, there are, as you've seen on my show, numerous people getting together and forming communities. And I'm delighted today to be talking to another such group called Food for Change, foodforchange.uk. Do check them out. And I have Marianne and Natalie on the line. So hello to you both. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
It's lovely to have you with me today to talk about food and the change that we need to make. Which I guess is what comes from Food for Change. Let's find out first of all who we've got. So Marianne, which one of you is Marianne for the sake of the viewers? Hello, Marianne. And you're a farmer, are you not?
I'm a farmer, a mother, a holistic manager. I'm qualified in all sorts of holistic therapies as well.
Wow.
So there's a few of the labels.
Okay. And everybody loves labels, don't they? And Natalie.
That's me.
That's you, by a matter of deduction, I think. Yes. So tell us about yourself.
So I'm a mother of four, a child bereavement counsellor, and Marianne and I came together to start this initiative, which is something very close to our hearts, especially what's going on in the current state of the world. So this is why we felt this was extremely important, what we're doing right now.
So go on then, tell us a little bit about Food for Change and what it is you're up to.
Okay, so I don't normally do this. I normally try and speak off the cuff, but we've had several interviews and we are very passionate about what we're doing. So we kind of veer off questions and we don't really get to the heart of what we're about. So I've had to write it down so
Okay.
I don't forget the main
Fair
things. So basically, we're running a number of food co-ops for our local communities. And the big idea behind it is really twofold. So firstly, we want to help people move away from shopping at the big corporate supermarkets. If the past years have taught us anything, that governments and corporations do not have our best interests at heart, and food and money are at the very heart of the problem. And by choosing to spend our money on nutritious, organic food from local producers, we take back the power, or our power. And secondly, we want to establish community, as it's a community that is maybe slightly different from some of the other groups that have sprung up in the past few years, like Stand in the Park, Against Vaccine Passports and Common Law. The community that we're establishing is built upon action. And because we're dealing with money, we're building bonds and relationships built upon trust. If living in society does indeed become as challenging as many suspect, these are the types of relationships that we need to build. So we currently have 3 community hubs set up in approximately 80 people across them, across the country. And right now we're having to utilise central distributors, but we plan to move towards buying in bulk from local farms that obviously utilise the most ecological and organic farming techniques. And we support the small producers. And that is where Marianne's expertise is crucial to this. So hopefully that gives you a little intro of what we are, who we are.
Brilliant. No, absolutely. And the farming obviously is at the core of this because you've got to grow the produce. Now, before we started recording, we had a little chat, as we do. And Marianne, you were telling us that the biggest problem is not so much that people would say, oh, we want to go and do this, because, you know, as you start to introduce what is good food or people taste good food, it's not that easy to just nip down to your local organic supplier and get what you want.
Absolutely. The biggest challenge we see is the community, as in the human community side of it. I mean, farming has been devastated at a farming community level by the rise of the commodity food chains. So bigger farms have got bigger, small farms have got smaller to the point that they're almost non-existent. You know, the small farmer is a very rare beast. And we need to be reintroducing people back into real food production, not huge, great fields of anything for that matter. I mean, with what we teach in holistic management, driving up and down the country, I just see fields and fields of devastation. It doesn't matter whether it's a field of sheep, cows, barley, wheat, or rapeseed. It's still, to me, all devastation of monocultures, which has no understanding of what is actually needed within the ecosphere, which is biodiversity. And let's be honest, we have to start with us, the humans. And if we can't start by getting people back onto the land, then our philosophy is to drive that potential by gaining a market back in areas where people are now no longer existing. Because I've had this conversation with a number of farmers. If people go to a farm and say, oh, you're a farmer, we're looking to put together a group to buy X, Y, and Z, versus people like ourselves who are actually now buying. We're buying £2,000 worth of product every other week. And in fact, it's going to be weekly soon. We can have a very different conversation. When you say we are buying, but from further away, and we want to buy locally, the farmer will take you seriously. If you go in there on what we are going to, you won't even get in the door with that conversation. So that's what we're trying to do, is stimulate it from actually having the energy and the resources to actually put into new people, to stimulate the growth truly from the grassroots, from what we consider us to be, we're the apex predator on the planet. If we can become healthy, we can restore our environment across the board, not just within the gut or within the body, but within the bigger sphere as well.
So tell me how well the organisation that you're doing and these hubs, because I know, Natalie, that you're supplying stuff from your garage, I think you said to me. So
yes,
it isn't that
right.
you need big distribution hubs or wholesaling. People can do this sort of thing on a much more lower scale thing and make it more about people engaging with each other rather than behind these plastic screens and beeps and all of that, and using cash presumably. So tell me, how is it going, and how do people react to it?
It's going amazing, isn't it, really? It started off for us all about getting good food. But it's become so much more than that, because since people in sort of various groups that we've met along the last 3 years, and friends and family, they've realised how important it is to be connected with the human being, and new human beings, if you like. It's not just about food, it's about coming together. And these relationships that we're forming are so much needed after what we've been through. We've needed that human contact, and this provides that. We get together in the garage. It's a whole day's worth of packing beautiful vegetables in boxes that have been ordered by our group members, and we get helpers on the day from our groups, and we obviously have a little rota system where they come along and they help. And it's honestly, it really is the most amazing experience, because we have a laugh. We forget all of the worries and all of the things that are actually going on in the world right now, and we're just there, just having fun.
Yeah. I mean, the people, especially the girls, are going, I didn't know I could feel this about the community. I didn't know this was possible. Yes, the food is amazing, but what we're getting out at the community level is something else. And that, I find, we've got a few of different channels of social media on different topics, and the amount of true, I'm not going to call it disinformation, but stuff that isn't right is out there. And when people don't know a subject, something looks sort of right, and we can actually between us work through this and go, well, is that right? Is that wrong? Yeah. And it's, so we are starting to work together on another level to say, well, information is everything out there. The universe is information, energy, information. And that is very, very much what's coming through now, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, just before we came on, we had someone in the community reach out to us, and it's amazing to be able to do that. It's I mean, so 2 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah, so you're feeling, you're feeling that there is a need in people, that this whole food thing and eating well and all of that, we've not really thought about it. We've just been going along because our lives have been so incredibly busy, to the point where, you know, we're all having to pay all these extra bills that have been coming in, and the taxes are going up and the fuel is going up and all of this. So we've sort of all got our heads down trying to earn money just so that we can nip round the supermarket, buy something convenient, full of crap, and shove into a thing that blitzes it. And yet it seems in a way that although we've had this terrible thing that's affected the whole world and we're all on the other side of it, people are waking up to not wanting to continue in that life, in that sort of last 20, 30, 50 years that it's more detached from the land, from our food, and most importantly, the community. So you're definitely feeling this sort of visceral wakening up of people wanting to reconnect, as it were, almost establishing
they've taken away. Yeah, they've taken away the human interaction. I know I keep saying human, but it's our interactions with each other. And obviously, if you go into supermarkets now, I mean, our supermarket's completely changed in my area. They've got away with all the manned tills. So, well, I say all, they've got 2 or 3 left. And the rest is just this great big screen that records you as you pay for your goods and zap them through the machine. You know, so I'm on Twitter, and I only went on Twitter through the pandemic or after the pandemic, just to see if my voice would be heard in the huge ocean that is of Twitter. And I wasn't heard at all. But as soon as I posted a picture of what I'm doing, which is a solution to a part of our problem, the amount of retweets and interaction I had through people shows the need for this to happen. Yes. And we haven't actually had to do very much to gain the community, to gain the people coming to us, because it's just grown so organically, because it's what's so needed right now.
Yes. So how do you distribute the food? Do people come to you? Do you put it out in veg boxes or food parcels? Do you deliver it by van? Do you have a milk float that goes around?
So we've had to do this with no budget.
Yeah.
In fact, being a farmer, I couldn't have done it on our tenant farm because we just don't have the infrastructure to make it possible, very, very sadly. And people always look to me, but none of this would have been possible without Nat's insight into a solution. You know, she had a space, she had a way to make it possible that even I couldn't have even hoped was possible. So now, why was I saying that?
I was asking about I was asking about the distribution.
Okay. It's a mission, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a mission. We put out a group to.
Go back. So we had to do it with no money. That's the first place. And I do not like certain companies that are into technology. That's all I will say. But we use a Google Doc because I found this thing and worked out how to change it. And I'm no technological whiz. But we ended up having a list of vegetables that we could share. And it went out to the group, and we had to sell all of a box to make it viable. And that's effectively what we did. We worked a 2-week cycle. We order in week 1, and we have it arrive in week 2. It's that simple. And it's grown from there.
And so how do the hungry people get those? Is it a veg box scheme? Is that?
No, we're not scheme. No. So what we do is we send out this list, and they put down their minimum order of what they want and a maximum order of what they will actually take if it helps the group to get the boxes that we need of certain veg. Once we've done that, we allocate what they can actually take so that we reach our maximum of boxes that we need. Say, for example, cauliflowers, you buy 10 in a box, how many boxes we can actually buy. So everybody gets one. And then what we do is on the day, we've got our pick lists of everything everybody wants, and we use the boxes that the vegetables come in. We start making boxes up with our helpers and tick off on the list all the things that they've asked for. And then they come and collect their boxes whenever they can. We just put a note out to the group, ready when you are to come and collect. And then that's when we come together and we just have our chats, and it's great.
Yeah. So people coming, I mean, the community is a local community effectively.
It's fairly local. I mean, there's some that are coming a little bit further out just to receive these, these lovely this produce. But we've opened up another hub that's sort of nearer some of our groups that help them not having to commute as far to me. So yeah, we're trying to make it as convenient, if you like, as possible without using the word convenient, because the most important thing is we have been convenienced for so long, and we have been existing and not living, that we now have to be responsible and make that little bit more of an effort to do things, because it's not just effort for ourselves and our family, but it's effort for the group as a whole. We're learning to be less selfish, if you like, and putting ourselves out there for each other. And that's one of the main things that we've sort of realised as well going through this.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've been banging on about taking back the responsibility and not farming out everything that the council or the government should be doing, or just being lazy. You know, as soon as during the lockdown, the fact that you could order a cup of coffee and someone would bring it to you, and okay, you're paying a little bit more because you're in front of your screen and you can't be bothered to get up and make the coffee yourself. And so it's absolutely extreme amount of laziness, and if we're not careful and we end up doing that, we will never leave that little box that we've put ourselves in. And then you don't see anybody. And what you're doing, it seems to me, is absolutely the essential thing that we need, is to say, hang on a minute, I'm responsible for my life. I'm responsible as a member of this community. Let's all work together. And as you so rightly said, live, because who wants to just exist? What's the point?
We need solutions as well. And I think there's a lot of people that do a lot of talking, and I understand why, but there's not enough people realizing that they do hold the power within themselves to actually make solutions happen. And I just think, being a mother of four, and I always go on about this, but they are literally my life. They're everything to me. Nothing else really matters. And seeing them worrying about future, the way the future's heading, this was so important for me to be in aligned with somebody like Marianne to make something like this happen, in the hope that we can change some kind of system that's in place or that's trying to come into play. And this is our way of fighting back such a huge entity that just two mums, farmer, normal person, it's so hard for us to do.
Yeah, but don't underestimate what you're doing there, because I mean.
No, I don't.
No, good, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if this snowballs, and I hope this sort of thing is happening everywhere, and people start to see this and they think, blimey, we can do this, and it doesn't take much. If two humble ladies like yourself can get together and organise something so brilliant, and other people do the same, suddenly you've got immense power. And the big
I think that's what
corporations.
we've been perceived. We've been perceived to be the little people, and we put these celebrities on such a huge platform that we idolize and look up. They've become so big to us that it's almost like society has made the people that aren't known by the world or nationally, that we are a little person. But these little people are actually huge people that are going to be the ones to change the shape of the future. Most definitely. It's celebs done. It's all about us, the people, now, that are going to make our mark in this world, I think.
I think you're right.
True change.
So
they say true change happens through the grassroots.
Yeah. And I feel that's the sort of feedback I'm getting from doing my show and talking to people, that people are beginning to realise if they don't do something, it's going to be dreadful. But we still have plenty of time to get up and actually start doing it. And people are enjoying it. But here's the question that I don't really want to ask is, when I've asked people about organic food and farming and all of that, the criticism comes back, but it's expensive. And food has been artificially lowered, as well as its standard, for ages. But you talk to people and they almost just say, well, food's just something you shove in your mouth. It's just cheap and cheerful, and as long as we have it, and they don't know about nutrients and vitamins and all of those things. How do you combat the fact that real food does cost, and people who don't have a lot of money, what do they do?
Okay. There is a trust out there called the Sustainable Food Trust, and they did a study entitled The True Cost of Food. And they found out, in very broad terms, that non-organic food bought through the supermarket has a secondary, unseen cost of the same amount as you actually pay. So for every £1 you pay at the supermarket, there will be a secondary pound cost to the environment, the plant, the animal, yourself, the water cycle. So for every pound you pay for cheap food, somewhere, something down the line will pay for that cheap food. Just because you're not paying for it at the checkout does not mean you will not pay. Just you cannot see that cost yet. And what we're saying is we want to reverse that by buying organic, because at the moment it's a label, but hopefully one day we can connect with our farmers well enough so that we don't need a label. When those farmers understand what regenerative farming and agriculture is all about, why it's so hugely needed. And for those that don't know, we are in the middle of the sixth mass extinction entirely at our hands. And for those that wonder what I'm talking about, go back 30 years in the summer. Who remembers having to wash their windscreen every day because of the dead bugs on it? How often do you have to do that now in the summer? You know, that is just one example. Everyone knows about the bees, but no one really thinks about the bugs. And how many more decades can we go on destroying the biodiversity of our ecosphere without recompense? So the other side of this, which is actually very, very complex, is us just greasing the wheels a little bit with the way we're doing this so that eventually we can pay someone to grow our food. You know, I have an acre spare, and I would gladly, with some of the surplus we have, pay someone to grow. And if that starts it, then it will enable the next grower to come online, and the next grower to come online.
You are a farmer, and so I floated an idea similar to this about a month ago in one of my monologues that I do, is why can't we approach a farmer, rent a field for a year, and a bit like allotments, but on a much bigger scale, and rent it from a farmer and just grow stuff. You know, they may be growing spring barley at this time, as a lot of them are in this area. But if they've got a field and it's, you know, supposed to be set aside or whatever well, we used to have it. Now I don't know whether what do you call it? The thing that the government pays you not to grow stuff on. Subsidy, that's the word. Yeah. Whether we still have those. Now we're out of the EU. I don't know quite how that's working.
Subsidy is still there.
Is it? Right.
It's changing.
Okay.
It is changing.
But if people could rent a field, or a society, a group like yourself could say, right, okay, if you want to grow some stuff, let's get a little organisation where we all become little farmers and learn the trade, as it were, and grow a row of cabbages, a row of potatoes, you know, on an acre or whatever, and start to feed ourselves and understand what food is again, get our hands back in the soil. Do you think farmers would pick up on that?
Oh, yeah, you're talking to a genuine tenant peasant farmer here, so I have a very different mindset to a landed farmer. I mean, you get people like Sir Julian Rose, who's already doing it.
Yes.
You know, he really gets the whole issue. There is a cross section of farmers out there, and there are some that would, you know, they would, but genuinely, then they're the smaller farmers again. I said across the board. But you know, there are a few bigger ones that will consider.
Would it help farmers, you know, financially, if a group said we want an acre or 2 acres, and there were, I don't know how many people you would have, say 20 in that group, and they were all dedicated to sort of getting back. It might be a sort of initially just an enthusiastic way of doing it because they're just maybe part-timers or retired and they're able to get out and do something and start the ball rolling in other areas.
I think there are many small plots around the country that are already spare, and there are the people that own the small pieces of land, I think, are more forward thinking than, you know, 1,000-acre farmer that's doing his arable and his sheep and his cows. That's the pattern I would expect, to be honest, from the conversations.
Presumably the soil, I mean, if it's a highly intensive farm, the soil might be full of all sorts of nasties from previous sprayings and all of this, which would be a problem. It might take several years, presumably, to get the soil. And then I guess some soils are going to be better for certain crops than others.
Each farm has its own different context. You know, the bottom line is the mind of the farmer that owns the land. That's the bottom line. I mean, there is a phenomenal farmer in Virginia by the name of Joel Salatin. He is a great orator and a fabulous farmer who offers us all, especially in contexts like the UK, where you can actually what we call vertically integrate enterprises upon the land. A bit like I was saying earlier, how I'd like to find someone that would like a chicken enterprise, because they will just add to the fertility of the whole. They won't take anything away. Pigs are another really good example. Someone that wanted to have a pig business, a small one, I hasten to add. Again, they would add the diversity to the soil, to the environment, to the human element. And then you have the people with the vegetable gardens and the market gardens. Again, it's this complexity within the ecosystem that is so important. And one thing people don't know is just how important the animal management is within a regenerative cycle. They are so greatly important. And that's why, say, I do get terribly upset driving around the country and you see fields just full of animals dotted around, because it's damaging. You know, if you know how to use the animal as a tool on the land, we are in a win-win-win situation again, because it increases the biodiversity above, below, it gets the water back where it is, the whole environment can reset.
May I just go back to the question you asked about what happens to people if they find it difficult to finance organic food? What's so important about the communities that we're building is we do have families that struggle, some more than most. And when we build these communities, we get to know each other personally and understand their situations. So invariably, we do have things left over. And we always make sure that if they can't afford or if they're struggling, they have preference to those leftover veg, fruit, whatever we have. So that's really important to say, that this also provides a community for people that may struggle more than some others.
Presumably, on top of this, you know, we're so not used to cooking. Most, you know, I mean, I always cook with raw ingredients, and I get my, you know, I'm learning ground up, and people, and it's joyous. It's joyous to cut open an onion and a tomato and a cabbage and just put together throw together sometimes a meal of leftovers and things, and it's fun. But some people, for some reason, are so, as we said before, convenience has made them so removed from that process that learning to deal with real ingredients can be quite frightening in a way. It's like, oh my goodness, you know, what if it tastes horrible? What if I don't do it right? What if I waste all the food? So there's that whole learning curve. But also, presumably, if you're providing good food, there must be other groups that will say, do you know, well, we could buy that from you and turn that into cooked meals that we freeze so that we can send out as well.
So you're one step ahead. Well, you're not really. We're actually doing some, not cooked food per se, but we have a few members of the group now that are providing nice treats for the group. So, for example, we've got a lady that makes kimchi. That's gone down a storm. Everybody loves her kimchi. We've got me that's providing sort of body products and granola. We've got soups being provided for the group from the vegetables that they've purchased.
There's wax wraps.
Yeah, wax wraps. And or antiseptic balms. I mean, the list is endless. And so many of the people in our group, some of the homeopaths, some are into natural healing, natural health, and we've got GAPS coaches on our in our groups. So we don't just get goods from, you know, various farms. We also get made produce as well. So that is another thing. But we also hold groups where they learn how to make things. So we had a fermenting group here a few weeks back where they were learning how to make sauerkrauts. So, you know, this is all encompassing what we're doing.
Yeah, and how brilliant, you know. I mean, I can just picture that people come in and you're talking and you say, oh, we're doing this. And you go, oh, do you know, I've never thought of doing it. I've never thought of, you know, joining a fermenting group or a class on how to do that or how to make this, that, and the other, whatever it is. And it expands the mind. And shows people that food is not something that you just take out of a box and put into the microwave. We're at a
Absolutely.
point now, King Charles III, as he's just about to be crowned, coming up, passed an act in which we have this rather ghastly act now of precision breeding, in which we can muck about with plants and animals and fiddle around with the genomes and all of this. I don't really understand it, but I know that that sounds ghastly. Who wants genetically modified food? Certainly not me. And if that
Certainly not
is,
them.
yeah, and if that's taken up by farmers because they feel that's the only way they can make a living is by providing this to the retailing supermarkets and places like that, people will be eating even worse foods that potentially could have all sorts of nasties in them. So this what you're doing and others like this is so important now before these other things really take effect.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
I mean,
yeah. So I haven't asked you a question there. I just made a statement there. But so I mean, this is why we should be engaging this really right now and not just think about it. I mean, we're in the spring. What sort of things would you recommend other people do now?
ooh.
You know,
Well, we've
if
had
people
a
are listening to this and thinking, golly, you know, they go and they see what you're doing, do they get involved with you guys and get information and understand how to do it? Are you encouraging other people to do exactly the same so this just percolates across the country?
We hope we're encouraging other people,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
we? But we're willing to help anybody that wants to set up. They've just got to get in touch with us at foodforchange.uk, and we'll help as much as we can with our model. And
you know, just being really practical. If someone wanted to do it, the first hurdle we're finding is somewhere to do it.
Right.
And I've suggested a few times people go to pubs. And just the other night, I was with two publicans, and I asked a question of them both. One said they did do community stuff, and in the past they just didn't open till midday. And the other one virtually took me by the hand and said, "Give me all you've got. I'm going to do it." But
Right.
the true thing is, venue is the biggest hurdle people are finding. If you can find a venue, we can help you with the ABC of how to start. You know, it's great if you come to us and you already know where your local producers are. That's great. But most people around the country don't realize that they're in a void of them. So whilst they're in a void, we can help you overcome that and give you the power to nurture those people to actually start.
And make yourself more attractive to the farmers when you do approach them.
Yes. Yeah, no, I guess that's important. So there's a pub just down the road from me. You're just sort of making me incentivized here. So I could say to the pub, look, you don't open till midday. You've got morning where there's nobody here. If you open up, effectively, we could have a delivery of all the stuff, get a bunch of people in. We could put all this food together into different boxes for people according to a local web page or something. And then people come along and they pay for their food, or they've bought it in advance, however you work it. And then they've got their food, and you presumably can get in touch. Because I'm thinking if you're in a town that's quite big and, you know, it's quite far away from land and things, they may not be thinking that. So you could be leaflet dropping or however it is to make yourself known. And would you like this food? It's going to be, you know, really good quality. It's coming from here. We sort it in the pub. Is there a sort of a help sheet that you provide so that somebody like me would go, right, okay, here are the suppliers. These are farms that we've spoken to. This is how you approach a farm and all of that, so that somebody starting something like this can get going? Because I just feel like we should be doing this as of this second now.
Well, we can help you start really easy, because we can almost work it out that we can do a drop ship for you of a really good variety of fruit and veg, depending, you know, we're based in the Thames Valley. You know, I actually do go to the farms and I buy the dairy and I buy the eggs, and next time we're bringing on a couple of local vegetable producers. And I'm buying local cheese from different places and a bakery. And as Nat said, we've got our own produce. So it is diverse, but the core of it was the fruit and veg. That's where we started, with the fruit and veg. And we can work with you to get that drop shipped direct to you. However, we have found it takes either 15 very committed people or 20 people that want to have a go at doing this, to enable whole boxes to be bought.
I think that's been our biggest issue with getting the stimulation from people, because it is a commitment and it's effort, as we said before.
Yeah.
And it takes a complete change in the mindset of how we have been doing things. And obviously there are a lot of people now that are aware, they want to make that change, but when they see the change and actually get involved in it, it is a lot of effort for them. So it does put a lot of people off. But if you are wanting to make this huge change and you want to have this pushback or fight back, whatever term you want to use, this to me, at this pivotal moment in time, is the only way we can make this stand.
Yeah.
To show the supermarkets that we are not coming to you. Let them realise there is a change and they need to start listening to us and what we require.
Is there any legal complications and things that you have to jump over to sell food?
Well, in our instance, we are a group of people, we're a group of private people wanting to buy as a group privately. You know, everyone takes responsibility for their actions. No one's going to sue one another because we all want to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very much in the private.
Brilliant. I'm glad you said that. This is going to be so encouraging, I think, as you say. I mean, a lot of people probably have no idea how much hard work that it is that you do. But I think you're so right that this is it's what we've got to do, and it's the only way out. Because, again, one can't push home hard enough how essential good food is to the body. And what it does to us. It raises our vibrations, it makes us more optimistic, it makes us face some of the problems that are going to be ahead of us in a better way. We're not necessarily having to rely on the GP, and our trust has gone in hospitals and things of recent times, and taking that business of our health and our food and our well-being a lot more seriously, and interacting with people and sharing knowledge face on, rather than, just on a can't even see it. There we go. On a device all the time.
On a horrid device.
Exactly. And stepping away from the digital world into an analog world of real people, where you laugh and have fun and there's joy, and things go wrong and you could all swear at the same time. Like, oh, bugger this and what have you. But it's life, isn't it? And I think that's what's so missing, and what you are outlining as what you've done. I think a lot of it was going to resonate with so many people. So
well, I'm glad you said the word trust, because as you say, I have opened my eyes to many, many things that have happened over the last few years, and trust is one of the biggest things I have lost in absolutely every walk of my life. Education, health, food, finance, everything, government especially. So this for me is where I get my trust, from the people that we are aligning ourselves with, and we do have the most wonderful group of individuals with us. I mean, none of this would be possible without each and every one of us. So we can't, as much as Marianne is huge in all of this, these people are too. Our people that come together are just as important as each and every one of us, and they know that. They really do. So trust has gone, and we need to rebuild trust within each other to grow our own systems, if you like, and this is our way of doing so.
And you can only
Can I say, someone said many years ago of Anita Roddick, one of her saying was, if you think you're too small and insignificant, just try sleeping with a mosquito. And each one of us is a mosquito. So imagine a cloud of mosquitoes. Each and every one of us has power, and together we can do something great.
So people can find out more about what you're up to, as we said before, at foodforchange.uk, and you're very receptive to inquiries. As I said, because I've had this little YouTube ban, this video, which will end up on YouTube, so people watching this on YouTube will be going, but you're on YouTube, yes. But it will initially go on some other platforms, and it will go on YouTube. So hopefully people will be getting in touch with you, and perhaps in dribs and drabs, and hopefully in a...
That's fine. There's only two of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I know my email box is overwhelming with people asking questions or whatever, and say, we need to get in touch with these guests that you've had on and all of that, which has been brilliant, and it's very encouraging. What you're doing is amazing. Sounds absolutely brilliant, and it would be great to perhaps get you back in a few months' time, maybe in the autumn or something, to see how it's gone this year, and see if other groups are doing the same, because I think that's what we need. You're obviously,
absolutely,
you've got a great thing going there. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Oh, thanks for having us, and thanks to Rena for arranging this. It's brilliant. Thank you.
Absolutely. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, two amazing ladies working ever so hard to help the community and encourage others to do the same. And I think this is the future for us all. We've got to take back that responsibility. We've got to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, actually, we don't need these big organisations who are taking all our money and not really giving us anything in return, and build back a far better community and our health and our food. So thanks so much to Marianne and Natalie. It's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you. I will be back again with more interviews. Until then, thanks again. Bye-bye.